with the latest.
We are at the National Vote Tallying Center, where the Ugandan Election Commission is expected to announce the final results at any time from now. President Museveni has taken an early lead, and it is a huge one. He's got 68% of the votes tallied so far. His main challenger, Kizza Besigye of the Forum for Democratic Change, has gained 26% of the vote tallied so far. The opposition are saying that the vote was rigged, and some of the candidates are saying they will not accept the results. Some of their claims, including the stuffing of ballot boxes for the National Resistance Movement of President Museveni, has been confirmed by some of the international election observers, some of them from the Commonwealth and the European Union.
The Somali government is confirming 4 Americans who went missing on Friday have been kidnapped by Somali pirates. The quartet was sailing on a private yacht off the coast of Oman when the ship was hijacked.
As a government, we confirm that 4 Americans were kidnapped by Somali pirates. We condemn this action. It is unacceptable. So the Somali government will try all it can to get information regarding this incident. We request the international community help stem the increasing piracy in Somalia.
15 people have been killed in fighting, meanwhile, in the Somali capital between African Union and Al-Shabaab forces. Clashes in Mogadishu broke out during the weekend, centering on the southern districts of Hodan and Holwadak. At least 21 other civilians were injured in attacks that included shells straying into Kama districts. A survey by South Africa's Medical Research Council has found that 1 in 4 men admit to having committed rape. The problem's partly blamed on a culture that seems to accept sexual violence. Jonah Hull reports.
He was beating her, probably raping her as well.
Even now I'm still shaking, because since I was born I never heard kind of sound which was produced by that girl.
South Africa is sometimes dubbed the rape capital of the world. Statistically, a woman is more likely to be raped here than learn to read. Dumisani Rebombo was 15 when he and 2 others gang raped a female pupil at school. A shy boy at the time, Dumisani says he gave in to relentless peer pressure.
These guys have a request, and they're thinking you should prove yourself to be a boy just like us. About this girl who thinks she's clever than any other girl in this village, because she wouldn't want to date any of them. So, as these boys of the neighborhood, we decided to teach her a lesson. And the lesson is that she would be raped by some of us.
20 years later, Dumisani met his victim and apologized. All she did was cry, he says. Today, he's a gender relations counsellor, running educational workshops, trying to bridge South Africa's gaping sexual divide.
Men are not all monsters, actually. And it's wrong to even go around with the message that way. In fact, in South Africa, we're told that out of 6, only 1 is bad. But the 5 are silent. So if we try and get the 5 to speak up, the better.
Why is rape so rife? Well, causal factors include a history of violence and societal decay thanks to 50 years of apartheid. But there's also poverty, alcohol abuse and inadequate policing. Police figures show a sexual offence is committed every 8 minutes in South Africa. Yet campaign groups say just 1 in 9 attacks are actually reported to the police. That's because 9 out of 10 accused men walk free.
Somebody attacks you and rape you will not change who you are.
In a culture of such impunity, there are only small signs that Dumisani and others are making a difference.
And those men that are doing those things, that the man, for me, that is somebody that is already dead while he's alive.
People need to understand that this thing exists. People need to practice their rights, so we need to talk a lot more.
Beyond the workshop environment here in a township church, out on the streets, the silence still speaks louder than talk of human rights. Jonah Hull, AlJazeera, Johannesburg.
At least 17 people have been injured in southern Thailand in two separate attacks. Both took place on Saturday night in Narathiwat province. 2 people were injured after they were caught in a shootout at a restaurant. Others were wounded after a car bomb went off. Police in Vietnam say a tour boat that sank, killing 12 tourists, is owned by a company linked to another deadly accident 2 years ago. Relatives of those killed have been identifying and collecting the bodies of their loved ones. They drowned before dawn on Thursday when their boat sank. Well, reports in Colombia are casting doubt on the government's claim they rescued former presidential candidate Ingrid Betancourt from armed guerrillas. Colombian radio says it's seen a U.S. diplomatic cable from WikiLeaks. It apparently says a leader of the FARC armed group discussed releasing Betancourt if he was allowed to go to France. Well, this was the scene in July 2008 when she returned to Paris after her release. Venezuela's foreign minister has hit out at the U.S. after it called for an investigation into alleged rights abuses by Hugo Chávez's government. Nicolás Maduro said the U.S. should not meddle in Venezuela's affairs. A group of Venezuelan students who've been on a hunger strike for more than 2 weeks are demanding the inquiry. They say the government uses judges and prosecutors against Chávez's political rivals. Mexico's President Felipe Calderón says he's sending more troops to fight the drug cartels in the country's north. 4 new battalions will go to the border region. The north's key drug smuggling routes into the U.S. have suffered significant violence between security forces and criminal gangs. More than 34,000 people have died in drug-related violence since 2006.
We know the difficult circumstances facing the people of the northeast border and this entire region devastated by criminals without remorse. And due to the irresponsible actions of criminals from several groups, I announced that I have ordered 4 additional army battalions to this region with the aim of backing up the work of the armed forces.
Well, the recent debate on Muslim immigration in Australia has once again cast the spotlight on the country's claim of being a multicultural society. AlJazeera's Andrew Thomas takes a look.
Is there a strand of Islamophobia running through Australian society? And if there is, should politicians be exploiting it? Say no to burqas, says this mural in a central suburb of Sydney. Multiculturalism isn't working, believes the man who painted it. Immigrants to Australia should integrate more, leaving alien customs at the door. Others round here say the mural is simply racist. Since it appeared in September, it's been vandalised and had to be repainted more than 40 times. But there's no doubt it taps into something. And over the last few days, the sentiments it expresses have spilled over into national debate. On the day of the funerals of some of those who died in the Christmas Island asylum boat sinking, the immigration spokesman of the centre-right opposition party questioned why taxpayers were paying for surviving relatives to attend.
Any other Australian who wanted to attend a funeral for someone who died in tragic circumstances would have to put their hand in their own pocket.
A day later, the same politician was reported to be encouraging colleagues to exploit anti-Muslim sentiment for political gain. The Labour government called for him to be sacked. Some opposition colleagues were critical, but the party leader backed his man, and others